It's time to buckle up as we get closer to the end of the road with these characters that have been around for over 20 plus years. We're talking about the 10th film in the Fast and Furious franchise, and we're breaking down Fast 10. That's right, 20 plus years this franchise has been around. I say this is the 10th film, but it's really the 11th if you count the Hobbs and Shaw spinoff. So 11 movies, 20 plus years. The question is there still air in the tires? Is there still some gas in that tank? Well, we'll be breaking that down, but also you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video because we're going to have some fun. I'm going to do some box office predictions, giving you all my predictions on the critic score and the audience score. It's going to be a good time. But before we get into all the fun stuff, let's start the conversation in the comments below. Let me know if you're a fan of the franchise and if you were excited for this new film. And of course, once you've seen it, let's talk. What did you love, like, or hate about this movie? What do you want to see next? If you've seen all 11 of these movies, how would you rank them? Let me know your rankings in the comments, and also share your predictions for a box office, for the audience, for the critics. Let's have some fun in the comment section. And of course, if you all appreciate today's spoiler-free review, consider hitting the like button, sharing today's video, and of course, subscribing to the channel. So when it comes to Fast and Furious, your boy's a fan. I like some more than others, and I will be making a ranking video coming soon, but I own some of these movies. I got Fast 5. I got Fast 6, and I got Fast 7. Now, for me personally, this is a perfect trilogy, man, when it comes to this franchise. These films, when I think of Fast and Furious, this is like the quintessential, fundamental films that I think of, and I think they should have ended at 7. I think they should have ended at 7 for a lot of different reasons. The narrative of the characters coming back home, also, of course, the tragic passing of Paul Walker, and the Brian character, who I really think is the lead of these movies, right? Of course, Dom is the co-lead, but it's really Brian's story, and it ended so perfectly. So Fast 8, it's fine. You know, I did not like Fast 9, and I didn't like Fast 9 so much that it really took me back as far as my excitement level for Fast 10. Like, of course, once we got closer to the release date, we had the casting news. We got that awesome trailer they dropped a couple months ago. And then in the last 48 hours prior to seeing Fast 10, I revisited most of these movies, 5, 6, and 7 in particular, and it really got me excited. It got me back in the mood. It got me in the right mindset when going into these movies. So, again, is there still gas in his tank? Let's talk about it. Starting off with my pros. Now, when I go to see a Fast and Furious film, of course, I want some great character work, a good plot, some great direction, some great performances. Of course, I want those things, but just at a bare minimum, I'm a simple man. I look for simple things in an action film, right? The same way I look at a horror movie, I want to be scared. The same way I look at a comedy, I want to have a good laugh. And when it comes to the Fast and Furious franchise, at the bare minimum, give me some action. And I want to say when it comes to the action in this film, it did not disappoint. Now, I personally believe as an audience, we've somewhat become spoiled or maybe underappreciate because we get so much action, right? We have the action movies from the superhero genre. We have the incredible John Wick franchise, the Mission Impossible franchise, Mad Max Fury Road, just to name a few. And we underappreciate the work that goes into making these movies, the Fast and Furious movies. Like, these car stunts are not easy. The men and women that work on these movies put their blood, sweat, and tears to give us what I think is some of the best action in the genre. And when it comes to this movie, I'm going to be honest, in my personal opinion, there are some action sequences that are some of the best of the entire franchise. Now, without spoiling anything, I will say, and if you've seen the trailer, the Rome sequence, for example, with the bomb going through the streets of Rome, literally on fire, was a fire scene, if you ask me. It's tense-filled, it's suspenseful, it's a lot of great things going on. There's like 9 different car sequences going on in that scene. Fire. I won't say when it happens, but there is a particular scene that involves Dominic Toretto, his little son B, going down this dam as there's like an explosion chasing them. I mean, there are some really great moments. And then the franchise has added in more and more like hand-to-hand combat, and there is some great standoff fight sequences in this film. I'm thinking of Letty and Cypher as one of them. So the action, if you're an action junkie like me, and if you have seen these films, you know what to expect with the action, but don't underappreciate it. There's some really good action, at least in my opinion, in this film. Now, switching gears and take a shot at home for all the different car puns I'm going to be having in today's review, but switching gears into the performances, I want to talk about Dominic Toretto, played by Vin Diesel. Now, yes, I know the jokes. I have said the jokes that Dominic Toretto is Superman. When he gets near, or let alone inside of a car, the man's untouchable. Like, his superpower is driving a car. Also, superpower is persuasion. He's able to persuade people to do things that are, you know, against their moral compass sometimes. But Dominic Toretto is a superhero at this point, and it's all fun and games and whatnot. But I honestly think that, seriously, Dominic Toretto is one of the most like iconic action heroes in the last 20 plus years. I really enjoy the ridiculousness of the character. But Vin Diesel of it all, the performance of it all, and particularly in this film, I'm not saying it's Oscar worthy, right? But there is some nuance going on there. There is some character work that he's doing in this movie. I'm thinking about the scenes, and we'll talk about the central theme of fatherhood a little bit later. The scenes he has with his son, Little B, and the stuff that they're doing, and the conversation between like what he's trying to have his son be a better version of himself. So, and within those moments, there are literally scenes in this film where like in a drop of a hat, he's being loving, he's being vulnerable, he's giving a knowledge to his son, but then he has to switch over and be that Dominic Toretto, that superhero that we've come to love. So again, I'm not saying, nominated for Best Actor, Vin Diesel, but there is some nuance, some things that I appreciate from an actor perspective, that what he's given us in his role is pretty some solid stuff, man. So shout out to Dominic Toretto. Getting over to some other characters. He's not in the movie a lot, but I just wanted to mention him because I'm a fan of the Deckard Shaw character, Jason Statham, who, if you've seen the trailer, you've pretty much seen all the scenes he's in. But the scene that he is in, it gets me excited to see more of the character. I really think that Jason Statham is born to play action, so I really enjoyed what he brought to the table. Then I want to switch gears. I have to point this out, ladies and gentlemen, because as I mentioned up top, your boy isn't a fan of Fast 9. I think it's messy, not think it's funny at all. It's just a very bad movie in my opinion, but there is one thing that I would say hate about that film, and that is the introduction to the mysterious brother of Dominic Toretto, and that was Jacob Toretto, played by John Cena. He was terrible in 9. I am so shocked that the words that are about to come out of my mouth is coming out. Give me a second. Let me just think about this before I say it. Yeah, it's true. I am happy to report, at least from my perspective, that the worst part of Fast 9 is one of the better parts of Fast 10, and that is John Cena as Jacob Toretto. They switch the character. They make him more likable, funny. They play more into what I like about John Cena as an actor. Now, I've seen a lot of his projects, and him playing a villain doesn't really work for me. Again, Fast 9, and I'm thinking of Bumblebee when he was like the colonel that was doing all the evil stuff. I'm not saying he can't play a villain, but I just know from what I've seen from him in that roles, and these roles haven't been the greatest. But when he is playing more of a, let's say, an anti-hero or anti-villain, I like when he's able to do that. In particular, I'm thinking of Peacemaker. If you all haven't seen him in Suicide Squad and, of course, the TV show, that version, at least the Peacemaker show, the version of Peacemaker, he is giving us some of those vibes in this role. He's really having a good time. Like I said, I think he's very likable in this role, and there is a surprising partnership. The person they pair him up with in this film adds this kind of very family-friendly dynamics in the movie, and again, he's playing like this cool uncle in the role. So again, Jacob Toretto, who was horrible in Fast 9, for me, was redeemed in Fast 10. Now, a few more points I want to mention as far as the entertainment factor. I found this film to be one of the funniest in the franchise, and that's really due to the part of Tyrese, who plays Roman. There are a lot of scenes where he's trying to be a leader. He's carrying cash around. Like, he got some of the best laughs from me, and also the audience was having a good time with the Roman character. So I found him to be very funny in that department. And pivoting over to what is easily the best character, some of the best moments in the film comes from one character in particular, and that is the villain who I think is the best villain to date in this franchise, and that is no other than Jason Momoa. Listen, y'all, he plays a character by the name of Dante Reyes. If you've seen Fast 5, you'll know that name rings a bell. And listen to me at home, Jason Momoa provided what I think is a much needed gas in this franchise. Like, he's over the top, he's flamboyant, he's also a very menacing villain that is 10 steps ahead of everyone in this film. And like I said, he steals every scene. Like, literally every time he's on screen, he's doing something funny, doing something crazy. He is easily the best part of the film. And I want to liken it and compare it to the same way The Rock's impact was in Fast 5 and how impactful his dominance and persona was added to the film, and it added so much more life and kind of really switched the trajectory of that franchise. The same could be said about Jason Momoa in this film. As far as what he's giving you in the role, is kind of like a mixture of his version of the Joker meets Gary Oldman's character Norman from one of my favorite films in the 90s, which was Leon the Professional. He's having a good time. I had a blast with the character, and you can just tell when an actor is just having a blast in a role. He's having a good time. Like, I want to know how many times he improvised something, because there was some stuff in there that I know that wasn't on the script that he added to the character, which I enjoyed. I had a good time with him, y'all. And look, if you've seen these movies, in particularly, I'm talking about Fast 7, 8, and 9, there's a trope when the villain somehow, your enemy of your enemy, becomes a friend. Nah. Dante is not a friend. He will not be getting invited to the barbecues. Like, he is that damn good as a villain. I really enjoyed him. There are some new additions to the cast that I really liked. I'm thinking of Brie Larson, who plays Tess, and she has the theme that we'll talk about here. There are some themes with her and her relationship with a particular character that I enjoyed, and I like Brie Larson. I think she's a fantastic actress, and what she's doing in this role, I hope that she carries some of that funness and that personality to this film and to what we're going to see in November with Captain Marvel. So I really enjoyed Tess. And also, there's a character by the name of Ames, played by Alan Rickman, who is the new leader of the Mr. Nobody agency. And the reverse can be said, where Kurt Russell was a friend of Dominic Toretto. That is not the case with Ames. So I really enjoyed what we get with Alan's character. And look, man, you can't never get too many of enough of the 6 feet tall, 400 plus, built like a tank type of characters. I really enjoyed him. And rounding out some of my final points before we get into my criticisms. Now, again, I know the jokes out there about the franchise is that there's really not a lot of plot going on. There's not a lot of in-depth character development, but I will say, central theme of leaving the world in a better place than when you found it is something that I really enjoyed in this narrative, as well as the passing on valuable knowledge to this current generation was something I really appreciate in this script. And also, there is a nice parallel between fathers and sons and the impact that the fathers have on their son. You think of the Dante character and his father, the impact that he had on him, and then paralleling that to Dominic Toretto and his son Little B. So again, I know it's fast cars, action sequences, the jokes and all that stuff, but there is some themes, there is some important themes that I think the film really shined a light on that I really appreciated. And then a couple more points here. There is a post-credit scene that I loved, and I won't say what it is. There's some spoilers out there that I won't address, but I love the post-credit scene, and my screening involved critics as well as the general audience. I can't remember the last time that when we saw the post-credit scene, people were literally clapping, and it was a lot of good energy in the room. So I love the post-credit scene. Stick around, you won't be disappointed. And tonally speaking, this film had a really good balance, because the thing about, again, Fast 9, I hate to poo-poo on that film, but I was laughing at the film versus laughing with the film, and I think this film had a good balance. Now, there are course moments, my eyes are rolling back. You're kind of just like, are they really doing this? But again, I found a better balance of me laughing with the film and at the film, but there's a much better balance there for me, tonally speaking, because I felt like the film knew exactly what they were doing, especially when you look at the villain. Like, Jason Momoa knew the assignment, so I definitely appreciate the tone that the film wasn't taking itself too seriously. And then last thing I'll mention, the director of this film, who came in kind of last minute, Louis Leterrier, is doing a solid job, because I couldn't imagine getting a call a week ago. The director, Jason Lin, left the project. You got to come in, pick up the scraps, kind of pick up where he left. There are some issues I have with the direction, but I thought that he did like the best of. Like, he found things, and from what I understand, I saw an interview he did. He's a fan of this franchise, and you could tell that because he's bringing in a lot of the things that I enjoy about the franchise. Again, there's some questionable things that he does, but for the most part, I applaud him for, again, this man jumped into this film a week after their director left, and I think that he was able to salvage some good parts and make a fun, entertaining film. But again, take a drink at home. Here comes another car pun. Let's switch gears and pump the brakes on all the positives, and let's talk about some of the negatives here, talking about my criticisms with the film. And I want to start off by talking about kind of the nitpicks of the movie. Now, listen, you haven't seen the movies, to me, and I don't mean this as a disrespect, but that's a you problem, right? If you haven't seen all these films, that's your fault. I say all that to say the film does this thing where they're recapping a lot of the previous events of the movie. Like, they are taking deliberate time out of the film to do these flashbacks. Some of them work more than others, but they're doing flashbacks, and it's like, come on, guys, we're not idiots. There's enough subtext to kind of understand what you're alluding to in the scene versus literally showing us what happened. So again, it felt like I was watching a TV show where, like, previously on the Fast and Furious franchise, and it was just too many recaps for me. Again, a nitpick, but something that stood out to me. But speaking of too many, I said that I like the new additions, but I gotta admit there are too many characters in this movie, man. There are too many cooks in the kitchen, as they say, right? I do feel as though that there are not only too many characters in this movie, but are characters that serve the same purpose as other characters. Now, I am a fan of Nathalie Emmanuel, who plays Ramsey in this film, but she's just kind of there. I love Han, y'all, but he's just kind of there. So there are multiple characters in this film that are just not really serving their purpose in the main narrative, and it just feels like they are just there because they're friends of Vin Diesel. Like, there's a lot of characters in this film that I kind of felt that way. But getting into some of the things that really kind of stood out to me, I love the action. I applaud the action, but there are moments in the film that I'm like, was that necessary? Did we really have to have a fight scene in this particular moment? There are mindless action scenes in this film, and I won't say what happens, but like, I think of the Letty and the Cypher fight, which is in the trailer, which I love the fight, but it was like, why are they fighting right now? And to that point, there's a lot of subplot and there's a lot of setting up the future. I'm a fan of that, but I'm not the biggest fan of how it's handled in this film, because I feel like it took away from what was going on in this film. There's our characters. I'm talking about Letty, Cypher, Tez, Rome, and what's going on with Ramsey and Han. Their subplot really doesn't impact what's going on in this movie. Instead, it's setting up the next film, which again, I like a setup, but when you spend like almost half your movie doing something that's going to involve another film, it's taken away from the main narrative. So that is something that I definitely want to bring up. And the final points I want to mention is from my criticism. There's definitely some repetitiveness in this film that we've seen from other movies of the franchise. In particularly, there is a very familiar MacGuffin that makes its way into this film. And there's also a plot that we've seen literally 2 movies ago, which is the whole thing of Dom's son being kidnapped. It's like, you guys already been there, done that. It's a lot of repetitiveness going on in this movie. And the last thing I want to mention, of course, we know this is a part 1 of a part 2 of a potentially of a part 3. So it ends in a way that is somewhat like a cliffhanger. And I'll just say, when it comes to that cliffhanger and the last shot of the actual movie, I wasn't a fan. I'll elaborate on that on potentially a spoiler breakdown video that I'm going to probably do in the next day or so, but I wasn't a fan of the way it ended in the last shot of the film. But with all that being said, those are my main pros, those are my main cons. If you stuck around to this point in the video, I really appreciate you. Just a reminder, if you're enjoying yourself, because I'm having a good time, hit the thumbs up, share today's review, and consider subscribing to the channel. Overall, Fast 10, as I like to subtitle, Infinity Cars, because there's definitely some Infinity War type of vibes going on in this film. This was definitely a huge step up from Fast 9 and even Fast 8 in certain elements. Now, it still has its eye-rolling moments, and there's definitely still the over-the-top action and moments that just feel kind of flat-out stupid, but it's entertainment. It's enjoyably stupid. It never forgets that it's a summer blockbuster film, and I thought it to be very, very entertaining. Now, Jason Momoa was fantastic. There is a cameo at some point in the film that made me extremely happy and gets me excited to see what they're going to do next. With all that being said, I'm going to give Fast 10 a solid 3.8 out of 5. Now, I'm going to say this. If you are a fan of this franchise, if you know what this franchise is all about, go see this film. And also, don't say I didn't give you guys any advice. That logical part of your brain that tries to make sense of what's going on in this franchise, go ahead and turn it off. Go ahead and leave your brain inside the car while you're watching this film. I think if you do that, and again, if you know what this franchise is, of course it's not perfect, but I think you're going to have a good time with the film. And when you all do see the film, let me know what you thought of it. So now pivoting over to the fun stuff here, which is kind of, I'm going to start doing this more and more often, which is sharing some box office predictions. So with that being said, summer blockbuster, we still have the Guardians doing pretty well. Mario still making money, I should say. And coming next week, we have The Little Mermaid. Now, there is some crossover there between the audience, but it's mostly a family-friendly film, and this is kind of the action film. So there is a little bit of competition there, but not a ton of competition. More competition will be come June, Spider-Man 2, The Flash, Indiana Jones. So all that being said, there's a big fandom of this franchise. I think it's going to have some pretty good word of mouth. I'm going to put this at the end of its box office run, making $930 million. Now, I'm going to put a little asterisk there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer to that, maybe 900 to maybe 880 or so, kind of in that range. But definitively, I'm at 930. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets close to $1 billion. But again, 930 is my prediction. Share yours in the comments below. And then as far as the Rotten Tomatoes scores from a critic perspective, I believe Fast 9 it was like 59%. This is way better than Fast 9, but I can see some of the critics maybe bashing some of the nonsensical action. I can see it doing like 64% from a critic perspective, which is a positive score. And then the audience perspective, I feel as though, again, basing the audience that I was around, the fun they were having, the laughing they were having, the post-credit scene, I'm going to give it an 88% as far as my predictions. So again, recapping box office predictions, I got at 930. The Rotten Tomato score from a critic perspective, I have at 64%. And then the audience score, I have at 88%. So with all that being said, it's time to have some fun. Share your thoughts on the film. Pros, cons, favorite moments, least favorite moments. What do you all want to see next? Without spoiling anything in the comment section. Of course, share your box office predictions and what do you all think the rating's going to be from a critic perspective and audience perspective. I will be making a couple more videos. Either today, I'm going to probably shoot a spoiler breakdown review and also shoot my rankings in a short form on my YouTube shorts of what I would rank all the films. So keep an eye out for that content. But if you are still here, I want to thank you all for going on this ride with me in today's video. If you all had a good time, make sure to like the video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and of course, consider subscribing to the channel. You all have been awesome. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, come and join the family here. Check out my other reviews that I've done so far for this year. Check out my most recent review, and we'll catch you all on the next video.